So I'll quickly run you through this short presentation. I hope it's short. And this is something all of you know, I mean, the anatomy, but basically what keeps the eyelids in position. So this is more important for the lower lid simply because the lower lid can hang down because of gravity. So it is the pull of the capsulopalpebral fascia of the lower lid retractors, the tautness of the canthal tendons which are supporting the tarsal plate against the globe, and the interplay between the two lamella, the posterior and the anterior. And this decides whether you end up having a malposition, which is either an entropion or an ectropion. Let's look at entropion, which is an invert rotation of the eyelid margin. These other common four types, the commonest have been highlighted, the involutional and the cicatricial. So this is a patient who has involutional while this child has cicatricial, and we'll show you a little more about this later. But what causes involution entropion? Basically, there is a laxity or a dehiscence of the lower lid retractors. There is a horizontal eyelid laxity either because of the canthal tendons or the tarsal plate, and overriding of the preseptal orbicularis on the pretarsal. And these mechanisms are important so that we understand how are we going to address them. So when you examine a patient, one of the tests that you can do is a pinch test or a lid distraction test, where you pull the eyelid away from the globe. And if you can move it 8 to 10 millimeters or more, then there is definitely a horizontal lid laxity. Along with a snapback test, my video is not running, but basically you pull the lid down and you let it go. And if it recovers within a blink, you have a normal eyelid tone. Otherwise, there would be laxity. And that information is important because whether you're going to just correct the entropion or would you also correct the horizontal lid laxity, that decision would come from there. Now, there are lots of ways of treating lower lid entropion of involutional origin. But what we'll do is we'll talk about just two procedures. And the reason is because these two procedures seem to be able to tackle most of our problems. Okay, so one is the Jones procedure, where you do an anatomical reattachment of the capsulopalpebral fascia as well as correct the overriding of the orbicularis muscles. And if you have an horizontal lid laxity, you combine that with a lateral tarsal strip procedure. Let's go to a video of the surgery. This is a surgery that most of us practice, and we would encourage more of our colleagues to take up this. It's a fairly simple surgery if you understand the anatomy. So we given lid traction sutures, and this incision is at the lower border of the tarsus here, about 4 millimeters from the lid margin. The idea is that we cut through the orbicularis between the preseptal and the pretarsal orbicularis, and then do a dissection in the suborbicularis plane to expose the orbital septum here. Now, what we are actually looking for is under the orbital septum, you would either find that the capsulopalpebral fascia has separated or dehisced from the tarsal, lower tarsal border, or it has become lax. So what we're doing is cutting the orbital septum here. You can do it with scissors as well. You don't need fancy instruments like this. But basically, under this, under the pre-aponeurotic fat, is where we look. This is where we have the dehisced structure. So we are holding the structure, we are dissecting the fat away from there to expose it. And one of the ways of testing is, if you ask the patient to look down on table, you will feel a tug on the forceps through which you're holding. So this patient, we are also going to combine this with a lateral tarsal strip. We've done a lateral canthotomy, and we're doing an inferior cantholysis now to separate the lid out. And then we'll separate this section completely so that we know how much of laxity we need to correct. And this is what we have, a lot of laxity. We are going to remove the redundant part of the lid, but we'll keep the tarsal strip. So this is the entire idea, that you create a tarsal strip which will reattach to the lateral wall of the orbit. And you remove the anterior lamina here, also remove the conjunctiva at the lid margin as well as the posterior conjunctiva. In this case, we are using a monopolar cautery to just burn it off. And then you expose the lateral orbital rim. The idea is that you make your attachment as close to the Wittnall's ligament, Wittnall's tubercle as possible. So we have removed the redundant part of the lateral tarsal strip, and now we'll pass the suture that I'm using here is a braided polyester. Now you can also use Prolene or you can use Vicryl, but braided polyester has very good knotting properties, and again is a strong as well as a permanent suture. So over the years, I have shifted to this material. This is a 5-0 braided polyester. And when you put the suture through the periosteum at the lateral orbital rim, you get nice correction of the horizontal lid laxity. So once you've done that, we can go back to doing the Jones procedure. And here what we're doing is we are passing these correcting sutures through the skin orbicularis, through the dehisced or loose lower lid retractors here, then through the tarsal plate, the lower border, and again the orbicularis and skin. You can also do a direct suture of the CPF to the tarsal plate, but I find that this works better in my hands because here, if required, I can remove the sutures earlier in case I end up getting a little bit of overcorrection. So you pass 3 such correcting sutures through the CPF, and then you close the orbicularis and the skin. And finally, after you've closed the skin, is when you actually tie these correcting sutures. So this is completion of the skin closure. And now you do the correction. So the purpose of correction here would be just to get the lid margin at the right place. We don't want to overcorrect in a Jones procedure. So gently tie these sutures. You've achieved the anatomical reattachment of the CPF. And once you've done this, your surgery is over. Okay. So this is the same patient after correction. We corrected the horizontal lid laxity as well because we combined this with the LTS. Now let's look at the other situation. Cicatricial entropion is when you have scarring of the conjunctiva or the posterior lamella, and this is often seen in the upper lid in patients with trachoma, which we used to see when we worked in North India, and in both the lids in patients who have cicatrizing disease like Stevens-Johnson syndrome or ocular pemphigoid. Now, again, there are several techniques of treating these conditions, but we'll stick to again one which works well for us, which is the tarsal fracture and lid margin rotation, and we'll quickly go through the video. How much time do we have? 5 minutes. Okay. So again, you invert the lid and you make an incision at the scar. It's a full thickness incision through the tarsal plate without disturbing the orbicularis and the skin, which is why we call it the tarsal fracture. And once you've liberated this segment, we just evert it using sutures so that you end up with a new lid margin. So this lid margin which is scarred, which was irritating the ocular surface, would be moved from the ocular surface. So you give relaxing incision at both ends of your tarsal fracture so that you can rotate the lid margin away from the ocular surface. I'm just completing the dissection with scissors so that I'm sure that I've done a full thickness incision. You can see the orbicularis below. And once you've achieved that, that is when you put your correcting suture. So I'm passing this to the anterior face of the tarsal plate here. If you have double arm sutures, that would be nice. And we give 3 or 4 such correcting sutures, which work like horizontal mattress sutures along the lid margin. This suture emerges just a little above the lash line on the skin surface. Okay, so once you've done this, you just tie these sutures tightly so that you achieve an overcorrection. In this particular surgery, you aim for an overcorrection. Okay, we'll skip congenital in the interest of time. There are different conditions. You just need to identify them correctly and then treat them. Let's go to ectropion quickly. So this is where you have an outward rotation or eversion of the lid margin. Again, several types. The common ones being involutional, cicatricial or paralytic. and they are treated differently. So let's look at involution ectropion. The basic mechanisms are the same as for entropion, except that the lid turns outwards. So this is a patient who has mild ectropion. More severe, this is a typical tarsal ectropion where the entire tarsal surface is exposed and often becomes inflamed. If you have just a medial ectropion where you have an eversion of the punctum, you can treat that by doing a diamond excision followed by inverting sutures here. While more extensive one would be treated differently. So there used to be this historical surgery which didn't work well for me, but let's look at the other way of doing it. So do a horizontal lid tightening, that is LTS, and the Jones. So the same surgery that we did for entropion works same here. The only difference is we add inverting sutures which go from close to the tarsal plate to further down along the lid margin. And this is how it works. So this is a patient who's had a Jones plus LTS along with inverting sutures. So this is a patient with bilateral mild ectropion where you see that there is rounding of the tarsal, the lateral canthus here. So this patient actually had a detachment of the lateral canthal tendons on both sides. And all we did was for this patient just an LTS, a lateral tarsal strip procedure. Okay, in facial palsy, the mechanism is slightly different, but how will you tackle it? Here again, what would work is a lateral tarsal strip. Here you exaggerate the lift of the lateral canthal tendon along with a medial canthoplasty or a medial canthal tendon tightening. I'll just show you a picture. So this is a patient who undergone medial canthoplasty, hasn't worked so great, and then we've done a medial canthoplasty here. So this is the last slide that I have, a patient who has a cicatricial ectropion because of scarring of this anterior lamella. So we just excised the scar and we put a full thickness graft. This patient also had an ophthalmic socket, and we took care of that at the same time. So basically what we've covered is the different types of ectropion and entropion, as well as the mechanisms underlying these problems. And just a few surgeries are all you need in your armamentarium to be able to tackle these cases instead of trying to learn an entire range of surgeries.